Let me turn. Please, Mr. Gordon, come to the podium again. State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Jim Gordon. Again, I'm the same person I was
Of course.
half an hour ago. What Louise Holland said, it's contrary to my understanding for many years. Once we designate this as a landmark, the owner or a future owner can tear it down and redevelop the property without any inhibition. Now, is that, Kathy, is that the law in this village?
They don't have any binding regulations on applied for certified landmark status. So anything that under most ordinances, any change you want to make, including demolition, would require a certificate of appropriateness or a demonstration of an economic hardship before you could demolish it. But because these are not certified landmarks, they're just designated landmarks, those restrictions would not apply.
Now, in order to get your federal tax credit, which is very substantial.
I don't know that. I'm not a federal tax lawyer.
Mr. Gordon, what's the question, please?
The question was, she said that we're fine as long as they don't get certified.
Okay.
That this village is not going to be frozen in the early 20th century forever in developing our whole downtown Elm Street. Why? Because there's been no certification attempted. But we don't certify as a village, do we, Ms. Janiga? That's the question I'm asking. Do we issue the certificate?
If the owner applies
to this board,
to the Landmark Preservation Commission, and then it comes back to this village council.
And then he comes back to the village council. And it's at that point that if the village council decides, this is all, I'm just trying to find this out because this is new to me completely. It's at that point, if he gets the desire and wish to get a certificate so that he can get his tax benefits, and he comes before the board, at that point, you decide anew, afresh. Even though you've passed this ordinance on the second reading, you start all over.
Are you talking about residential properties or commercial properties?
I'm talking about 4 major buildings in the whole downtown area, and I'm trying to find out whether, and I think it's very important to the village, whether this means that there's going to be a substantial impediment to reconstruction, changes in this village in the next decades. And I think the answer is no. Nothing we're doing tonight affects the future of the village, and so I have no opposition. However, as soon as they come in for a certificate before this Board of Trustees, it's at that point, if you decide to issue it, that the future development of those properties is impacted. Now, if that's the case, I will sit down. And I can't see anybody objecting to this. But if it's the case, in fact, that this is a meaningful move by this Board of Trustees, and we're freezing the whole Elm Street area as a landmark, I think not only I, but many, many citizens of this village will start getting worried about the coming decades. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I appreciate it.
Okay, so what's the answer?
Same thing.
I'm doing anything you're building, and I happen to have one of them. I got to tell you, they're a real difficult situation. And when you want to change or do something, you got to go through 25 boards and satisfy them. So, and when you try to sell the building and people find out, people don't necessarily like those things. So it's not such a great thing to have as an owner.
So and keep our options open and clarify who has what rights, because I'm reading the village code right now, and it looks like it's a designation, and then the Landmarks Commission does the certification. But these are questions that I think we can research in between now and the next meeting. And it would serve no purpose just to stop everything now when we can stop everything on the second reading and do whatever justice or postpone the second reading.